They may be gone, but their legacies live on forever in the classic movies they gave us. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 actors who died during the production of a film.
Everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos.
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're taking a look at actors and actresses who tragically passed away while a film they were set to star in was still in production. However, we're excluding those who died in pre- or post-production, like James Dean.
It's here, and there ain't a dang thing you gonna do about it.
Number 10. Aaliyah, Queen of the Damned.
Why so surprised, my love?
At 22 years old, Aaliyah already had a bright and prosperous career in her future. Along with being a talented model and dancer, she was also an accomplished singer who'd released 3 successful studio albums by July of 2001. And we haven't even mentioned her breaking onto the film scene with her role in Romeo Must Die the previous year.
I don't know how it is in China, but in America, for girls kicking your ass, you do not have to be a gentleman.
Unfortunately, while playing the part of an ancient vampire for the film Queen of the Damned, Aaliyah and several members of her record label were instantly killed in a violent plane crash after finishing up a music video in the Bahamas. Her time with us was brief, but the talent she exhibited at such a young age will always be fondly remembered.
You think you can change my will? But enough of this discussion.
Number 9. River Phoenix, Dark Blood.
Gotta have a word with this gentleman here.
Despite his kind heart and phenomenal talents, River Phoenix sadly struggled with a demon that plagues many celebrities: substance abuse. His drug issues got the better of him on October 30th, 1993, the night he was scheduled to perform at a bar called the Viper Room. His siblings flew out to support their brother, but instead found him convulsing from a multiple drug overdose just outside the bar. By the time paramedics arrived, River had flatlined, and he was announced dead shortly thereafter.
He had Valium or something, I don't know. Let's get over here, please.
River had been filming a thriller called Dark Blood at the time, but production was abandoned due to his death. Almost 2 decades later, though, the film was finally completed and released.
Come with me. There's something we have to do.
Number 8. John Candy, Wagons East.
Gentlemen, this is the Southwest Territories.
This Canadian funny man is fondly remembered for his iconic roles in many comedies. Due to the actor's considerable size, he understandably struggled with weight-related health issues for a large portion of his life. While filming Wagons East, Candy went on a vacation with a group of friends in Mexico for fun and laughs.
I just can't right now, but I will when I can, when I have what I don't have now.
Everything seemed fine that night, but the following day, everyone would awake to discover that John Candy had passed away from a heart attack in his sleep. It's all the more unfortunate since Candy was on the comeback trail after releasing several duds. What he did produce, however, will always be treasured.
We leave at dawn.
Number 7. Philip Seymour Hoffman, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2.
Oh, it's so frustrating when she goes rogue.
Hoffman was heralded as one of the most talented actors in the film industry. However, despite all his success, he could never shake his drug addiction, having gone to rehab several times over the course of his life. While working on the final Hunger Games flick, Hoffman was sadly found dead in his bathroom, with reports later stating that he succumbed to intoxication by a deadly mixture of different drugs. While Hoffman had almost completed his work on the film, a couple of key scenes had to be reworked. Sadly, it seems like he'd only scratched the surface of his acting prowess before he left us.
Gunfire in the background, a hint of smoke. Our Mockingjay.
Number 6. Marilyn Monroe, Something's Got to Give.
What on earth is even feeding you? Silly old thing.
Monroe remains one of the most iconic actresses in history. Of course, her huge success in Hollywood was just one side of her personality. Behind closed doors, Marilyn suffered from anxiety and depression. To counteract these mental health issues, Marilyn turned to drugs to ease the pain. But this set her on a destructive path that ultimately led to her downfall.
Well, I was going to tell you, but I know how upset you get about little things.
On August 5, 1962, Marilyn was found dead in her bedroom, with autopsy reports revealing she had passed away from a drug overdose. Something's got to give. The film she was working on at the time was left abandoned until its eventual reconstruction decades later.
Would you have lunch with me?
Number 5. Chris Farley, Shrek.
My head's about to explode. My whole life sucks.
Did you know that funny man Chris Farley was slated to provide the voice of the lovable green ogre Shrek? In fact, Farley had already finished recording anywhere between 80 to 90% of dialogue for the film. But unfortunately, his health was spiraling dramatically, and his consistent substance abuse only made matters worse.
He went through 17 rehabs, but he was a committed athlete. He was not going to let this addiction beat him.
Despite his best efforts to seek rehabilitation and get back on his feet, Farley was found dead in his apartment from an overdose of cocaine and morphine. Shrek had to rework its storyline as the titular character was modeled very much after Farley's own personality. And without the remainder of his dialogue completed, the plot was missing key scenes.
People take one look at me and go, "Ah, help, run! A big, stupid, ugly ogre."
Number 4. Bruce Lee, The Game of Death. Bruce Lee was a mega movie star at the peak of his career, providing audiences with sensational martial arts flicks featuring death-defying stunts and stunning fight choreography. While working on The Game of Death, Lee began to experience painful headaches and even collapsed due to sudden seizures on occasion. Doctors diagnosed Lee with cerebral edema, which is an excess of fluid in the brain. He was prescribed mannitol to suppress this, but his illness ultimately got the better of him one night when he went to sleep after taking a painkiller from a fellow actress, then didn't wake up. He was 32.
I believe I deserve to be where I am. I've worked hard for it.
Number 3. Paul Walker, Furious 7.
Thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
After one of his Reach Out Charity Foundation events, Paul Walker and his friend Roger Rodas drove away from the area in a Porsche, unaware of the tragedy that awaited them. While driving, they lost control of the vehicle and violently crashed into a concrete lamppost and 2 trees, instantly decimating the car and igniting it in a burst of flames. Both men were said to have been killed instantly, leaving friends, fans, and family around the world in a sudden state of mourning.
This was just a tragic accident that happened on a joyride. They were just taking the car for a drive.
Walker was working on Furious 7 at the time, so his brothers were hired to stand in as body doubles to ensure that production could be completed in Paul's memory.
I just hope that this movie I just hope he's watching, you know?
Number 2. Brandon Lee, The Crow. In a twisted turn of fate, the Lee family faced tragedy once again, almost 20 years after Bruce's untimely passing, when the martial artist's son Brandon was killed in a freak accident. On the set of this graphic novel adaptation, a scene called for Brandon's character to be surprised by a gunman moments before being shot. Of course, this being a movie, the gun used was a prop. Unfortunately, members of the crew decided to mix dummy cartridges with real bullet pieces for more authentic gunshots. Sadly, a dummy round bullet became trapped in the revolver, and Lee was struck in the abdomen when a shot was fired in the scene. After 6 hours of surgery, the 28-year-old was officially pronounced dead.
What happened to Brandon was a tragic accident, and it's something that I'm gonna live with.
Before we reveal our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Win the crowd.
I don't know what's the matter with this country, but it's getting tougher and tougher to earn a living.
Number 1. Heath Ledger, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
I don't know who you are, I don't know who she is, and I certainly don't know what that is.
On January 22, 2008, Heath Ledger was found dead in his apartment after an overdose on prescription drugs. The 28-year-old actor had already completed his work on The Dark Knight, for which he'd win a posthumous Oscar.
How about a magic trick? I'm gonna make this pencil
disappear.
Unfortunately, he had yet to finish his work on Terry Gilliam's ambitious fantasy film, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Shocked by his sudden passing, Gilliam initially considered scrapping the picture altogether. That thankfully didn't happen though. The film was finished in Ledger's memory, with Johnny Depp, Colin Farrell, and Jude Law stepping in to play different versions of his character.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.